welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. I'm excited to give you some insights and introduce you to Dext for those of you that are familiar with it, and those of you maybe being introduced to Dext for the first day, for the first time. So um, thank you again for joining. Now, we have a few things that we're going to cover today. So first off, tell you who I am. So my name is Stephen Darling. I am a practice solutions expert here at Dext. I've been at Dext actually for 3 years as of tomorrow. So my Dext anniversary, so I'm excited about that. And so my role is I actually work with our various teams to kind of help educate on the product and really understand and drive the most value so you can have the most fit for that. Prior to this, I've worked in industry. I've worked as an accountant for several years as well. And I also came from implementation. So I've worked and implemented different ERPs over the years. So that's kind of where my background comes from. And so I really do enjoy being able to work with accountants and bookkeepers to kind of get the most value and to kind of remove some of the monotony from your day to day and give you more certainty. So what I am going to be talking about today is I'm going to give you a bit of an introduction to the Dext bookkeeping platform. I give you an overview of really what Dext is and what it does, and then go into deeper detail around our data health and insights. Now, this is a powerful post GL tool that will allow you to keep your books cleaner. It'll also help with giving you a little bit more confidence that you are being compliant, and also even help with maybe some onboarding questions that you may have from some particular clients. And after that, we'll be able to kind of go over if there's any questions that come in to be able to answer those, time allowing. So Dext is actually now part of the Iris family, for those of you that don't know. So as part of the Iris family, Dext actually takes the cutting edge AI technology and combines it with Iris's 45 years of expertise in supporting accountants and bookkeepers. So Iris was actually founded in 1978, and so it's a leading global provider of accounting, education, and HR software with over 120,000 customers globally. And then when you combine that with Dext, we take our three different products, Dext Prepare, Precision, and Commerce. It really creates a very powerful automation tool for you to automate and support all of your clients. So we're really trying to build a solution around workflows that really just save you time and provide more powerful financial insights to kind of drive that value in supporting your clients and your practice. So how we do that is Dex is actually a complete bookkeeping automation system. So we allow you to scale from some of your smaller clients and kind of work your way up. So traditionally, what Dex was known for was receipt capture, data capture. We were receipt bank, and so that is the foundation of what people typically come to us for. We help digitize any of your unstructured receipts, and we allow you to add context to those documents. So whether that is, how you're receiving emails and the online portals and bank statements, everything coming together. How we do that is we have different sources of actually getting that in so that you can connect. It's meant to be more comprehensive as an approach. So we allow you to email documents in. We have different connections with portals. We have a pretty robust and ever improving mobile app. We have AI extraction that pulls that information in. And then that's going to help with scaling. But through the use, once you get the information in, we then have tools to help with categorization and adding rules so that you're not having to go in and manually enter these bills or enter these invoices, kind of move things through. What we're going to be talking about today, though, is once that information is in, you've captured it in your GL, what do you do with it? How do you interact with it? So that's where our data health and insights tools, which are really powerful series of checks, as well as we have a health score and different intelligent workflows that are actually data driven and connected to the GL. So when you make updates, you're going to see that information and it's going to be something live. So you don't have to jump back and forth between systems. You can stay indexed make the changes in QBO or Zero and kind of move through that. And then what all of that really leads to is you having a more productive practice. Your teams can work more efficiently. You have better reporting. You have more predictable, reliable workflow management, and ultimately giving you back freedom to either grow your business, spend time with your family. So that's the ultimate goal that Dex really tries to kind of meet and find that solution for you. So how we kind of do that is how do you automate all that bookkeeping for your partners, but also all of your clients? So we have your different clients, and really what we do is we process those financial documents with critical data. So whether it's your AP invoices, your expense receipts, or bank statements, we take all of those and we help facilitate and consolidate that and make it digital, and then help move that through into your general ledger. So we do that at a much higher scale so that you're spending less time doing the manual data entry and entering these things and chasing items. So Dex actually automates that extraction. We have actually 19 different data fields from supplier names, tax amounts, different expense codes, purchase orders that we can extract from the documents. And then from that, I just have to verify those items. You can create rules as well around them so that you are not having to repeat the same step over and over and again. Let the machine do your habit forming for you. And then we are actually general ledger agnostic. So whether you're using Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, Zoho, we have multiple integrations that allow you to support each of those clients, but you're still taking this bookkeeping data management side of it and being able to streamline that. So that's kind of where Dext comes in and what we try to solve for. So we do have a couple different plans. So we actually do have what's called Dext Advanced. And so that is a really powerful way of going through to help manage your clients, your teams. It gives you greater control and visibility, as well allowing you to be a bit more efficient. So we have some key features of this is we actually have a very personalized client list, which helps you prioritize your team and know how to actually allocate people. We also have introduced something called simple workflows. So our data health and insights, formerly Precision, we had intelligent workflows. And I will take you through some of those, but we've incorporated that same logic to allow you to incorporate some of these workflows and automate it for your teams so that you're not having to jump around and reinvent the wheel every month. You can have these checks in place for your quarterly clients, your yearly clients, because you don't want to spend extra time educating your team. It's great if they can kind of follow that. Now, the insights is what we're going to get into a little bit more detail about, but this is because it's connected to the general ledger. We're looking at the post the post journey. So rather than looking at our key data capture component, this happens after you've actually closed your books or after you've actually assigned your categories and closed things. And then finally, our teams and locations is also part of the Dex Advanced team. So this is actually going to allow you greater control and visibility to the different teams, maybe their locations, maybe their different verticals that they're working on, so that you can actually move through and find a little bit more efficiency. But I'm going to stop showing you the slide deck. You came here to actually see the product probably. So I'm going to flip to that. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here. I'll just make sure that it is visible for everyone. So when you log into Dext, this is what that looks like. So this is our client page. So this is going to give you the ability to kind of filter through and sort through your different clients. And it's not just a list. This is giving you a lot of valuable information that will help you start to segment and set up your practice for success. So this is going to give you an overview of all of your clients. However, you do have the ability to add in certain information. So you can actually assign account managers to different clients. And what that's going to allow you to do is actually going to help you filter down so that you don't have to look at this complete list. You can see what are my clients. Further to that, you can also star some of your clients that maybe need a little bit of extra care and attention, and you can further kind of segment that, keeping things clean for you or each individual user for their own workflow. When you are working with the client list, though, aside from being able to identify the account manager, you can also see the integration. So if you have a mix of different softwares, Xero, QuickBooks, and so on, you'll be able to identify that. Some other information here is also what is going to be our health score, which I'll describe in a little bit more detail. But this page is going to give you an idea of how many cost items, so your accounts payable items, if you have any expense claims, who's managing which of your clients. This information allows you to segment this so you know how much detail and attention to assign to each client's. You can also get it label the bookkeeping frequency. That's important to know so that you can actually set deadlines so that things are not being missed in conjunction with what is called our item delay. So when you upload items into Dext, it's going to extract from the document date to the date that it's been uploaded, you're going to get this reader. And so if you were doing daily bookkeeping and there is zero delay, this is great. But if you're doing a monthly bookkeeping and you're 94 days out, that's going to be something that you're going to need to be on top of because you know that you're not actually, you're risking paying bills late, late fees, or being missed. So this is something you may want to be aware of. It gives you a little bit more insights into perhaps any missing paperwork. So this column is actually really important because it identifies any transactions that you may have within the general ledger that are missing a attachment. So it might be sitting in QuickBooks in the ledger, but you don't actually have a copy of the bill. So this might be helpful. So you can actually bring this report and actually send this out and send it to your client and say, hey, I need these clients. It'll bring up the list if there are any, and you can actually send this to them to actually just add those attachments. As well, if you've requested any paperwork, which you do have the ability to do in a few different ways within Dext. So if you have a charge coming through your bank feed and you notice that, well, I don't have the document for it, but we paid for it, where is it? This allows you to actually identify those transactions and then send the request through to a particular user, say, hey, I need that receipt from that item. There's a lot of information here to take in, but if you don't want to see all of that, you can also filter this down. So you can choose to look at the products or the modules and so on. You also have different settings, so you can actually eliminate a lot of this clutter. If it's not important to you, you can actually reduce this, making it a little bit easier and cleaner for you to see that. Now, the insights here that we're going to talk about, because I was talking about Dex Advanced, you're going to see a few different options. So when you're on this platform, you're going to get an idea of all of your colleagues. And then from here, you can actually assign them to different locations. So whether or not you are doing this from physical offices, if people are in different areas, or if you're creating locations for different within the same city, maybe you have different locations. That would be how you could assign this. Now, teams as well, this is going to allow you to filter through perhaps different segments or other examples. So this is going to be really helpful for your reporting, which I'll show you in a minute. So through a combination of your teams and your locations, it allows you to control how your data is displayed and how you'll be able to draw insights. Now, how we do that is actually here through the Insights tab. And so first thing I'm going to show you is our bookkeeping dashboard. So this is a collection of information. So it gives you an overview of the items you have to action. So this is telling me the status of across all of my clients of items that have the status of ready. So these are documents that I've categorized, the criteria is met, and I'm actually able to now take those cost items and be comfortable to move those through and post them to the general ledger and publish. This is showing me the number of items that I need to action and change. So if I want to go in and view, it gives you the insight. So it'll tell you which client and how that breakup is. So you know, how do I allocate my teams? What is the most urgent thing that I need to? You can identify and sort them to know which clients you need to focus on, so that you can allocate your team accordingly. Or if you want to see all of the items in greater detail for the whole client list, you can do that. What you can start to do though through those teams is up here we have different filters that you can assign. And so this is where if you have particular clients you only want to look at, you can just look at those to do something more in depth. But maybe you want to have a review or set up almost and gamify different team members or account managers. You can do that across teams. You can select different account owners for their work. But if you want to see how does the Edmonton team do against the Toronto office, or how is my advisory team as far as setting rules? So you can start to benchmark and see which clients are getting the most value out of everything. And those filters and being able to assign the teams are really helpful in being able to identify some rules or how the items are submitted. So within the item submitted tab here, if I go into further detail, it's going to give me who's actually submitting the least amount of documents. So that's going to be helpful to learn. But you're also going to be able to identify the level of submissions, the trend, so you can see, oh, it's always at the end of the month. Well, this is not helpful, but because you can have insights from different teams, you can see all of the submissions again to get an idea of what they're actually uploading so that you know which clients are being helpful. But you can also look at the items to action, activity, and different rules and settings. This is really helpful in identifying perhaps the, use my click. This is really helpful when if you want to identify any of the clients that don't have perhaps rules or how they're submitting items. That's helpful to know ways to be more efficient. Now, how the automation works is we really do try to encourage you to add rules, and that's really going to help facilitate a lot of that automation and efficiency from you having to manually go in and add all of these. So you can see here, different clients. This is one of our clients with a lot of rules. And so those rules are going to be ways of kind of boosting some of your and getting some of your time back. Now, this is our data health overview page. So I'm going to introduce you to our data health score as well. So there's a lot of useful information in here. So our health score is something that I'm pretty proud of. It is so useful in giving a snapshot, which allows you to customize as well for each of your clients what information is important to you. You can also identify different workflows, which I'll show you here in a minute, and where they're at, but as well as just your transaction activity. So you can see where are my time being allocated. The practice dashboard, this is really a powerful tool. This is a data-driven pivot table, really. It's so great. You can identify so many different things and sort and filter through overall from the practice. So you have access to so many different accounts, account owners. You can then start to go through and look at bank reconciliation, where you are at with different unreconciled lines and items. There's so much access that here, I'll show you a little bit. These are the different filters and items that you can actually go through. So this is actually data-driven though from Dext, so it gives you the idea. And if you want to start changing things, you can identify and create different reports and insights that are important to you or that are specific to clients, and you can actually create several reports. You also have the ability to track the activity, so you can start to get an idea of where's the volume, what's happening in my clients, where are they growing, what are they doing year over year. So it helps consolidate and get this information, but you can still, again, make these changes and create different items. Our workflows overview is going to give you a snapshot of all the workflows you have throughout the practice, how you can actually action them, and where people are in the status. So if you know you're at a certain period in the month, where are we at? Are we going to meet these deadlines? It gives you an idea of how to maybe even reallocate your own team. But you can also go in and create your own items. So you can go in and create your own reports, your own dashboards. But let's go into an actual client first. So I'm going to jump into a client, so you can actually see what this looks like. So I jump into a client. This is the first thing you're going to land on is the overview page. So again, another high level overview of where that client is at with their cost, sales, any expense claims. If you're using the bank space, how many transactions are sitting in there. Now, what I'm going to drive you here to is this health score. So this is, I think, amazing. So this allows you to actually customize a set of behaviors. So when you're actually connected to the general ledger, it's going to give you insights into how that account is doing. You can set it for different periods, but you can actually customize this. So the current health score, these are details that you can actually sit and set different checks for. But not every client is going to need the same information. And what's important to you may not be important to everyone else. So if you can actually come in and edit the health score to what you're looking at. So if you want to get identify when's the most recent bank reconciliation, you can identify what's important to you. If you're not handling net wages, you're not managing the director's loan accounts, things like that. Having these insights that are connected, and then you can change the weightings of them and have those set so that you can start to identify clients that have improvement or don't. The great thing about the health score is, let's say that you're considering taking on a new client. You don't really know the status of their books. You're taking their word for it. You don't know what their past client did. There's a lot of useful information that you would perhaps like to be able to view. Having the ability to come in and identify the amount of unreconciled transactions that they have, where their position is at, just by connecting through to their general ledger will help you instrumentally in being able to properly quote or even consider taking on that client. Another thing to consider is you can actually export this as a PDF or as an Excel, and then from there, use my reach. From there, you would actually be able to talk through and price that out. So when we are looking at a client with the health score and you export that, goodness, apologize for the demo environment here. You will actually be able to identify the exact reason for their items, and you can actually then quote out that work. So it would be really helpful in being able to identify all those things. And you can say, this is what I would charge to clean this up. So you have this many transactions. So you can say, I will take you on once you've actually set this, clean this up, or you can actually price the work before agreeing to take them on. It gives you that insight. You can also see what maybe they were paying their previous accountant, because you're going to get that insight that comes in instantly. What you're going to notice along the side, though, is our workflows, data health, and our insights. So first I'll focus on that data health component. So within the insights, we have some different insights you're going to be able to identify just by being connected to the general ledger. So when I come in here, if I'm looking at my aged balances, I can actually come in and see I have all of these aged receivables. So being able to identify that you have an outstanding balance of cash you're looking to collect, it gives you an idea of like, is this within view? How long do we need to follow up? So that you can actually identify this information. I know this is going to be available to you in QuickBooks, but this gives you a high level overview of everything. And so we know how to action these items. You can also then customize and change some of that within the information as well. Really helpful in being able to identify, who are your delinquent customers and who's not paying. But as well, how are you performing? How are they paying? If you have all of these age payables, you're not paying your bills, you're running a risk of, maybe that supplier is not going to work with you. Maybe you're not going to be able to continue having an account and you'll have to prepay everything. There's a lot of information that you can get a high level overview of. And the great thing about this is because it's connected through to your QuickBooks Online and your Xero accounts, you can actually have this updated in real time. So as you're actually working within your account and you're actually updating and you're paying your bills, you would actually be able to see this and recalculate it. So you'll be able to, without having to go into too much detail into the client's general ledger, whether you're managing your clients or your teams, see where they're at and where their status is and have the confidence to kind of move forward. We also have the ability to check on overpayments and other items so that you can actually make sure that you're not overspending. So you have a lot of information to be able to do that. Our activity stats are going to give you a high level month by month overview of where you're moving. So maybe you're, worried about having a pricing conversation, but you don't know how to position it. You can see that how you're growing every month, the amount of bills and the amount of work that you're taking on. And if you are value priced, maybe you're underselling yourself, or maybe you have some clients that are taking more of your time, but you haven't been able to renegotiate or reallocate time. If you have a client that is increasing, this gives you the ability to kind of see how they're growing and maybe take more or add more team members from the assignment. Our cost analysis is really going to be helpful to see how and if there's any issues, as well as our sales analysis. So maybe you have a risk of all of your clients are the ones that all your sales are coming from, and that risks your business. What if that customer goes away, or what if they don't come back? This will give you the ability to kind of see that through a high level. But maybe these aren't what you're working with. Maybe if you're on top of these, you want to be able to customize and build your own reports. So we do have some custom reports and some canned reports that you can work with, but you also can create your own. So perhaps you want to run a cost review by report card. So you can actually view this report, and this is going to, again, that live pivot table where you can actually come in and create and expand all this information. So if you are working within the different clients, maybe you want to see the information. You can then filter and go through the different items. Or let's say you want to look at expenses by a month by month basis. So if I wanted to look at a different report that you can create, maybe I want to know, okay, so here's my expenses for the month, and then you can get further details and breakouts to see how that is showing up for you. You can also move the items around and readjust because, again, this is a live action pivot table. So you're not having to run a report and consolidate. You can have the information that you need, and then you can create it. So when you actually want to create something that's specific to you, you can then come in, expand all of your filters, give access to all the information, and start to build that through. So maybe you want the account codes and you want to identify different classes. From there as well, you can reorder, or maybe I want the report code and I want to move some items around. You can reorder and adjust that accordingly. You can also add in different filters. There's a lot of options for you to choose from. And once you set this, you're not going to have to always do the export. You're actually just going to have to run the report, and it'll be available with all of your clients. So you won't have to recreate this month over month or client by client. Creating it once allows you to view that. You can then export it. So if you would prefer to work in Excel and work in your spreadsheets, you absolutely do have that ability, but it's going to be pivotal in kind of moving you through to create more efficiencies and being able to correct and mitigate different items. Now, we do have some cleanup tools as well. So this is where that health aspect kind of comes in. So within here, we do have a few different cleanup reports that you can run. So we have the ability to detect different contacts. One thing I'll probably highlight is our multi-coded contacts. This is something that will allow you to identify any suppliers maybe that are coming through that you've got them coded all over the place. There's different taxes that might be separated if you're accounting for that. And so it helps catch mistakes so that when we were previously going through those steps and automating all of your workflows and setting up different rules, perhaps, as to how you actually capture that information, this is giving you the confidence to know that you can correct and catch things that perhaps your team or the previous accountant did wrong. So if you're doing a reconciliation or you're considering taking on a different account, this is something that where do I start? We also have unreconciled transactions in here. So this is going to give you that information to know where you're actually sitting with each of the accounts. So it can be broken out by account, if there's any outstanding payments or other information. This is really going to help you manage and keep things a bit cleaner to find that information. So if you have any outstanding deposits, why aren't these matched against items? You might actually not have all of these aged receivables. They could actually be collected, but you haven't actually caught up. If you want to keep everything clean, maybe you want to look at accounts that you haven't used. You want to avoid things being incorrectly coded and moving through. So you can actually come in and find any historical information, check the dates as to when that code was last used. And then you can either dismiss this as being something that you want to keep, or you can actually link that through and go in and make those changes. Once you've gone through and maybe closed out some of these accounts or locked them down, you can then recalculate and the list will be updated. So you're always working with fresh information because it's connected through after the fact. So this is that post-accounting part of the journey. As well, with the duplicate accounts, that might be something that is important, or your control accounts, for example. If you want to identify any shareholder accounts and see where their status is at to make sure that they're not overdrawn, this will allow you to have that insights into each of those clients. Now, how to get better control and a handle on these is through how you're actually working that in the pre-selection process. So that's where our workflows, both more specifically your intelligent workflows, are going to come into hand. So you can see I have several workflows here, and this comes with a lot of different checks. So if I want to go and view the workflow so you can get an idea of what that looks like, you can see here I'm getting an update that the data has changed. So you're always being able to work and recalculate that information so that you are running off of the most accurate information. So this is a list of checks that will come in, but you can also create that. So as you can see here, the first item on my check is unreconciled transactions on this monthly checklist. I can now expand this and I can actually get further detail into what is the outstanding information and drill down. Once I'm able to identify that there's no outstanding amounts, I can actually then mark this as complete, or I can say that it's complete with some issues, or it's not applicable. So you can apply this to multiple users within the system. And rather than having to actually go in and say, oh, this was done, I checked the duplicate contacts. Well, did they check that? And rather than having to go into your QuickBooks account and go through your clients and see that information, this is coming in so you can verify it, allowing you to be more efficient and kind of move through each of your items each month. If you need to add a comment, you can also do that and upload files. You can create these workflows to give you the confidence when assigning different team members, because you know I can trust that this is correct, and you can also export the list. You can see where everyone's at within the month. You can create several different workflows as well. So you can create repeating workflows. You can also create custom checks. So when you are working within the overview of all of the items, if you wanted to create a new workflow, we do have several templates. So it's going to take you to be, we have our list, but you can create one-off workflows as well as repeating ones. So when creating the different workflows, you can find what's important and critical to you. You can give it a name. So let's say you have a new onboarding checklist. You can work through some of our checklists. So you can see here, I do have a template that I was created for a construction client, but maybe I need to edit some of these. So I can actually go in and change how this is actually set up. So maybe I don't want to add in the bank fees, or I want to add in other items. Perhaps I want to select a different check and change the different template and kind of move through that. This is going to give you those high-level overviews that you can then set the cadence for. So if we're creating this workflow and we want it to be for a specific event or a scheduled date, this is where those deadlines are going to tie back into that client overview. So you can move through setting your different cadences. You can also apply any rules or clients that may be applicable, and then start to move through which clients are going to use this. And then you can also, if you're using tags, sort by tags before assigning the different clients that you're adding it to. You then can assign who the users are. So you can assign who the actual preparer is, as well as two reviewers. And this is going to help in some of those dashboards and those insights when you're moving through. Once you're able to identify the parameters or you set different items, you can then create the workflow and save it, and then it will be available for each of your clients. And so you can actually then assign the checks, you can see where they're at. And so I can see this check for monthly bookkeeping, information's coming in, but maybe I want to reorder those. So if I want to edit this, I can edit the template. And these are those checks. So we have several in here. Maybe I don't actually need to worry about duplicate contacts in this particular review, but I do want to check the bank feeds. So that's going to move it here, but that might be the first check. So I can actually change and reorder this information however I would like. But I also have the ability to create checks. So I'll save that example. I can actually create a custom check as well. So you can come in and create a new custom check. So it could be client offboarding, let's say. You can add in a description and save that. And then that becomes an item which you can identify by these slicks. When you are working with your templates, you can then come in. So we have this other here. So now I can come in and edit this, and I should have client offboarding. So now I can add that to my list. So you get to customize and create this however you'd like, saving that information. So these are an example of you repeating. Also able to add the different tags in here so you know how to identify those different clients. And then once again, you're going to have a high-level overview to see where all of your items are. These workflows in the Data Health and Insights, these are available with our Data Health and Insights package. However, we've taken the same logic, but without always having to have that. The workflows are actually available through our simple workflows as well. So if you have a client that maybe is not a good fit, that you don't need that level of oversight for the insights, you still do have the ability to assign and work with the same workflows for that client. You're just not going to have the same ability to have that data. But your same checks are there, have the same access. And so you can actually go through and start to build a little bit more confidence, especially when onboarding and accessing different client files, or perhaps even sharing amongst the teams. It's a little bit of a pivot from that information, just to show you, for those of you that maybe haven't been familiar with Dext, this is the more core prepare product. So these are where you're going to be collecting and adding in all of those source documents and where the data capture component came in. So within here, it becomes a very robust solution. So you can actually come in and view those documents. So when you're actually adding them in, it's going to bring a lot of different detail. And along the details tab here, this is where that information, as far as like what's being extracted, those 19 different extraction points, and you can start to see which items need to be reviewed and move through them. So how we get those information in is we have several different sources. You have your traditional kind of drag and drop where you can actually upload your different documents. You can do that one file at a time, or let's say you have a stack of a dozen invoices that are a page each. You can actually just scan that as a stack, and Dext will actually segment and create separate documents for you. And then my favorite feature is our auto splitting. So this allows you to grab a stack of however many invoices, maybe you have 200 pages of invoices, some like 3 pages, 1 page, 7 pages, 20 pages. You can actually upload that together, one scanned document. Dext will, through machine learning, be able to actually split and create those separate documents, and then actually apply any rules or settings that you have from that. So you're not having to manually go through and save each individual file. We also do have the ability to email items in. This is one of my favorite features because you can actually give that email address directly to a supplier and say, send this in. So you're not having to worry about a mail or checking an inbox, saving those extra steps. But if they're already sending items to an inbox, that's okay. You can actually then set an auto forwarding rule through either your Outlook or your Gmail to have it automatically sent to Dex. So you're not missing any items, helping you increase the timeliness of receiving the information and reducing that item delay that you're able to see on that the client overview page. We also have our mobile app, so that makes a really easy way for you to log in and on the go, regardless of how your clients are submitting documents. Everyone can take a picture, and then Dex will do the extraction and take care of the rest. You also have the ability to create mileage claims, which I'm happy to say just recently had an update. So now GPS is enabled. So you can actually log into the app. And when you go to take a picture, you can also just create a mileage claim and have GPS tracking so that you're not having to manage all of those stops. Where the automation, the rules start to compound and take over is through some what we call supplier rules. So you can actually come in here and change a lot of settings. So maybe for Bob's, I know Bob's is always going to be going to my cost of goods sold account. So I'm going to set that up in advance. Perhaps I have different due date terms and I always pay these at a certain time. So I could set this as being due however many days in the month. Maybe you have net 10 or some other criteria. You can add that information in. If everything in Bob's is actually prepaid, I may not need to have a due date, but I always have it going to a particular card. So I can actually set this to recognize that every time we get a Bob's Supplies invoice, it's actually paid and we pay it on a particular corporate card. And I want you to actually publish this to my credit card. So you can set some of these items. You can also preset a description. Now, we also have the ability to let you segment and create line items. So you can actually create smart rules around this, either by a fixed amount or a percentage. So if you have a utility bill that comes in and you need to split it to a personal amount or a different account, you can come in and add those in advance. So you're not having to go in and manually add those line items. You can come through, assign the description, the other information, and then when you are done, you can also apply the information, just delete these ones and remove them, remove those smart rules. You actually then have the ability to apply all of that to everything in the inbox. So if you do that upload, maybe you have 10 supplier invoices that come in, you can apply that. And then when you come back to that component, just by refreshing the page, you'll be able to identify, and it'll all be now updated from that, giving you the ability to kind of move through, selecting those items when they're at a ready status to be able to publish them on mass. I think I had a different account. I think this integration disconnected on me. So I'm just going to go into a different account here. So here, if I wanted to look at any of them that are in the status of ready, I can further segment that through. And once I'm able to do that, I can actually highlight them all. And if I want to publish them all. So adding in those rules and automations start to build up to being a little bit more efficient in all of these steps. And if this is something you're not necessarily comfortable with doing and adding in the ability to get that into the GL, that's understandable. It's new. You want to have your hands on everything. But if the system has a 99% accuracy rate of being able to extract the information in here from the invoice, identify the type. This is an invoice. It pulls in the date, the supplier information, perhaps location. It brings this information in, making it a little bit easier for you. And it's more efficient. You can actually have this automatically published through without reviewing it based off of how many rules you've set for it. And it's a lot easier to have the confidence to set those rules and automations in place, knowing that you're going to have the insights to be able to work with each of those teams and catch the mistakes from the insights and the data health components. So there's a lot of value in that that I think would be quite helpful. I've done a lot of talking. So what I'm actually going to then, I'll switch back to the presentation. I want to also kind of give you an update as to what is up and coming. So we're always trying to innovate and create new products, improvements that make your life a little bit easier. So for those of you that are familiar with Dext, maybe you've followed some of our quarterly global partner updates. We provide information. What we're actually working on is a new efficiency score. So much like how that data health score, it gives you different insights into the client and the quality of their books. It would be so useful to know, like, how are my clients doing? What are they doing? So we're taking that same actionable kind of metric and providing that information so you can actually see on a client by client basis which are the most efficient. Like, who has been submitting in a timely manner? Who is missing a lot of paperwork? How many suppliers don't have rules? Why am I having to come and manually add in every invoice? Why is nothing being, are we submitting items a little bit later because they're dropping it off the office? Stop submitting through the web. Maybe you want to actually use the mobile app because that's going to be quicker. You're not forgetting or losing items. So this is going to be something that's going to be introduced. You can actually see this as a way of getting information onto your team and get more use out of those features. So you're having to spend less time chasing and managing those clients. And as well, then get a little bit of healthy competition, I think, and see which clients are the most efficient, which ones are lagging behind, who has the most items, and then start to peg your teams and then see who can improve the client experience even better. If you would like to be part of that beta and testing some of that out, you can actually, I'll leave that on there for a second. So hopefully you can have a look if you'd like to join the beta. Can also share a form here. I'll put it in the chat so you can see that. One other thing, so if you would like to actually see us in person, there's a few events coming up. So next week, we are going to be at the Get Connected Into It event in Vancouver. So that's held on June 10th and 11th. I am in Vancouver, so I'm actually going to be at that event. So it would be amazing if any of you were to come up and say hi. Thanks for the presentation, or like ask me questions, kind of go in depth. Whether you're new to Dext or you're familiar with it, come and say hello. For those of you maybe in the Toronto area, they will also be having the same event. We will be there in Toronto at the end of June. For those that were maybe at the Montreal show, that happened last week. So hopefully that was great for everyone that was able to attend. But this is a great way to come and interact and see what other people and see what Dex is all about in person. But I know I've done a lot of talking. I know I've shared a lot of information. There's so much more that I can share. But I don't know if anyone has any questions, and I'd love to be able to try and answer any questions if there were any that have come in. It's okay if you don't have questions as well, but Dext is really a powerful tool, and you can really help drive efficiency within your practice and kind of supporting your clients, but also your own teams to be smarter and quicker with what they're doing and have more trust in that you're being compliant and supporting them. quiet room. What I might then do, if no one has any questions, I want to make use of your time a little bit, so maybe I'll switch back um, to Dext. Um, Now, within some of the clients, there are a few other items that I think is pretty useful that was introduced that maybe you're not familiar with. So we have introduced a new item called Vault. So Vault is an intelligent AI-driven system that allows you to store some of your non-financial documents. We talked mostly about how to do that, but maybe you have leasing agreements, maybe you have contracts, or you have other information you don't know where to store this. You can actually come in and create folders to be able to store some of this information. And what Dex is actually able to do, it's able to extract that information and bring it in and assign smart summaries to these items. You can also add tags and view some of the downloads. So this is something that everyone will have access to. So if you're a current Dex user, you should see this now. So you can actually come in and upload and create different file settings. You can also create templates as well. So if you want to create a set segment of templates, you can actually go into your practice settings, and below that, you're actually going to be able to come in and set different templates for your file folder structures. So you can come in and assign different templates. So as you can see here, I've had this construction one. And what comes as a default file folder structure when I assign construction clients is I've added insurance, licensing, accounts, and leases. But maybe I also want to add in certifications. Can add some of these items in, and that way when you're actually uploading and moving the information into a client, you can come in and we're going to have some of these folder structures in here. So you can also then set different permissions. So maybe you can restrict access. So it's particular, if you have those HR documents, you may want to rename or edit and control who's going to have access. So this is going to help you identify those. And you can set different permissions so that you are allowing access to items rather than having to save them in different file structures or folders. Um, you can also come in and review all of the items that were uploaded. And you also then have the ability to review. So you can set different tags and identities. So you can see here, these are set to review. So what is due? What happened with this insurance policy? As I come in and I look at the document, I can start to see, oh, it was submitted by Rory, it was added in this date, and I have set a due date. So you can actually know when you're able to action items and bring that information in. And because you're already within Dex, it allows you to have that insight and set reminders and notifications for that. Adding in different documents, you can do that from the same panel. You can also choose the different destinations. If you wanted to go to a particular folder, you can do that. So there are a lot of options there for you to work with. If you want to drag in some different items, you can have those uploaded. So maybe I am going to grab several items. I'm going to upload them here into Dext. I can bring those items in and it's going to extract the information. This is Dextension, one of my favorite tools. So for those of you that are using our browser extension. But now that these items have been uploaded, you can come in and see it's been uploaded. And what it does, brings that information in and it creates a summary. So this document actually, so it uses AI credits to apply this to your different documents. So you can get an idea of what this is. You can then add in your due dates, add and edit any of these tags, as well as name different items. So if you are finished with your bank rec, maybe you want to start staying your bank statements within Dext, you can now start saving those and start creating file structures so that it's all within one place. Or if you had to send an engagement letter, maybe those engagement letters are going to be there. You can also take some items, download them, or move them within the folder. So maybe I want to move those in and do a little bit more cleanup. Or if I just want to review all the files because I have access, I can see what has been uploaded and start to look and identify. So maybe I want to do a filter, or I want to search, or I want to check a certain tag. Maybe I want to check for licenses. You can identify that through here, or for items that are setting a certain date. But that is available to everyone. You can upload and add documents in. Definitely would encourage it. It is pretty great to have that all kind of included in one system. I don't know if anyone has any other questions or things they would love to see. We do have quite a bit of information available as well. So if you are looking, always feel free to check on the website about any news and upcoming events that are happening. We host a lot of webinars like this, so we always love to hear from you. If you do have any suggestions or items that you'd like, under the resources tab here, you can actually come in, see what our latest releases are. I always advocate going to our help articles. I'm really proud of some of these. I think they're really great, really detailed. I use them like Google sometimes. So let's say that you wanted to look at the data health. You can start to type that in. It'll bring up all the related articles, so things that we covered today. You can actually come in and do a little bit. So what is the data health? So this will bring you through some of the items. What is an average health score? It helps bring in some of that context so you can actually self-serve and find different information. So there's so much context to learn from. But maybe you're not happy. Maybe something you think could be improved. You're great, like that you'd like to suggest within Dext. We also have the ability to suggest a feature. So this will take you to our user voice. You can come in here and view other suggestions that people have maybe made. This actually drives our product roadmap as well. A lot of the features that I've talked about today have been improvements that have come from the suggestions. You can come in, look for items, and then actually update them. And our chief product officer, they come in and he will make comments. You will find items. You can see here items that are under review. And so you can actually move through and have things that are important. So whether it's your team members, have everyone come in and vote for something, add comments. This is really going to help drive the product. You can see here, we're working on it. As you can see here, the information is there and we are engaged here. So if there are things you would like to see that are improved, come in, identify any particular ideas and come in and investigate that. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. But thank you again for taking the time today. I really do appreciate you taking the time to get to know Dex, get to know us, and feel free to reach out to the team. We're always happy to help.